Howdy, brothers and sisters out there in YouTube land. This is Grateful Panic, and I've got another knife review for you. But before we get into that, you guys know what we got to do first, and that's talk about what I carried today. My main utility carry was my wonderful mistake. This is the knife. I had ordered a slimline trapper in stag, and this is what I received instead. And I was a little upset about it at first, and then like I discussed in my last video, turned out that the knife wasn't actually even stag. It was just bone that had been jigged and burnt to look like stag. And this is a case trapper in pocket worn burnt brown jig bone. And turns out instead of getting my first stag knife, I got my first pocket worn knife, and I absolutely love it. This guy is just a pleasure to carry. It's just so smooth to the touch. The fit and finish is absolutely perfect on it. There's no blade play, no blade wrap. It is a perfect knife, and I enjoyed the heck out of carrying it today. And second, we have my multi-tool of choice, which is the Victorinox Swiss Army knife, and this one is the camper. And this one's pretty special to me because a good friend of mine actually got this in a trade or something, and the only reason he got it was because he knew that I love Swiss Army knives, and he knew that I love projects, and this one was in pretty bad shape. Needed a whole lot of cleaning. It was originally the your standard Swiss Army knife red, and the scales were chipped and there were pieces broken off. And I took it apart, cleaned it up real good. Found these cool desert camo scales on eBay. Switched them out, and so this, after my camo Tinker, is my all-time favorite Swiss Army knife that I own. And you got your corkscrew, which I have yet to use. Not a big wine drinker. You got your leather awl, which I have used, although probably not for its intended purposes, because I don't do much leather work. You got your can opener, your bottle opener slash flathead screwdriver, and as we discussed in a previous video, this one does not have a half stop, so it is a pre-1985 Swiss Army knife. And I forgot to mention in that video that also the pre-1985 Swiss Army knives did not have the hole in the leather awl. And then you got, of course, your regular main blade, your smaller secondary blade, and not to make myself sound like an idiot, well, actually, I don't care if I make myself sound like an idiot, because I do not at all take myself seriously, because if you can't laugh at yourself, who can you laugh at? I probably owned this knife for 2 months, and this was the first camper I'd ever owned. But I'd owned this knife for probably 2 months before I found out that it had a saw, and so I thought that was pretty cool. Not cool that I was a dummy, but cool that it has a saw on it, and it actually is functional. You're not going to saw down any trees with it, but it will saw through smaller limbs and stuff if you're in a pinch. And then, of course, my flashlight of choice. as you probably have already guessed, was the Olight S1R Baton Turbo, which I've stated on all my videos that this is my favorite flashlight that I have ever owned, and I carry it pretty much every day of my life. And then my fixed blade carry today was my last review, the Reaper Custom Fixed Blade in ADCRV2 steel. And this thing is an absolute hoss. I mean, I've chopped with it, I've batoned with it, and I have yet to have any edge roll, any chipping in the edge. And I have literally put it to the stone one time to get a really good edge on it, and since then, all I've done to maintain the edge is strop it on one of the extra large DLT strops with the black Bark River stropping compound. And I gotta say that's an excellent, if you're looking for something, if you guys are in the market for something to strop your knives with, that is, I highly recommend it. I'll actually drop a link in the description, so you can get because it comes in a combo. I got the strop and two different compounds. I got the black and the white, and I think it was less than $45, maybe right at $45. I don't know, but regardless, it was a great deal. And now we're going to get down to the nitty gritty, what everybody's been waiting for, or at least what I've been waiting for. I don't know if everybody's been waiting for. But we're going to take a look at the knife of the hour. And today I'm going to review, as the label says, the number 44 in OD green linen micarta, and that's going to be in the Titty Ute trim. And I would say that it's the 2018 model, because as you can see, it's got the 18 at the end, but it kind of goes without saying because 2000, this is the first year that this pattern has ever been produced. This is a new pattern for Great Eastern Cutlery. But let's take a look at this guy. And this is what Great Eastern Cutlery is calling the Buffalo Jack. Some people are calling it the Gunstock Jack, and it is a gunstock pattern. And for those of you who do not know, the reason it is called a gunstock is because if you look, it looks like the stock of a gun. It looks like you could put your shoulder right there and take down a big 12-point buck. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. It is in OD green canvas micarta, and if you can see, that figure there, it's got a great pattern in that micarta. I love Great Eastern Cutlery's micarta. It's got the hot dog shield, which is one of my favorite shields from Great Eastern Cutlery. It has brass liners, stainless steel back springs, nickel silver bolsters, and 1095 carbon blade steel. Your main blade is an absolutely beautiful clip point blade with a hand-drawn swedge and a nail nick. And if you don't know, the difference between a hand-drawn swedge is a hand-drawn swedge and a cut swedge is a hand-drawn swedge gradually blends into the spine of the knife blade, whereas the cut swedge, it usually ends a little bit sooner and it ends abruptly. You have almost like a little step where it ends. But yeah, this is, I mean, just a beautiful, beautiful clip point blade and a satin finish. If I could get it to focus, which I cannot, but regardless, this side it says Titty Ute Cutlery, made in USA. This side of the blade says Great Eastern Cutlery, Titusville, PA. And it's an absolute beautiful blade. If we're gonna talk about the pull here, and this is about the perfect pull on a slip joint for me. This I would rate it about a 6.5 to a 7. So it's a little bit on the heavy side, but I mean that's the way I like it. I don't like a real light pull on a slip joint. And this one's a little sludgy from half stop to full open, which I haven't used it a whole lot. I've only carried it a few times, and the joint could probably use some flushing and just working it out. But from half stop to close, I mean, that snap is a sound to behold. That is absolutely beautiful. The secondary is probably one of the things that impresses me the most about this knife, because it's an actual functional pin blade. You see a lot of 2-blade knives out there, and it's like they throw this tiny little pin blade on that you could maybe clean your fingernails with or dig out a splinter, just for the simple purpose of saying, hey, we've got 2 blades on this knife. But I mean, this pin blade is an actual functional size. Like, this is a great size pin blade, and I would say it's a little bit lighter pull than the main blade. I'd say maybe 5.5 to 6, but still, I mean, it's still a good strong pull. Not too light, not too heavy. The transitions on this guy are flawless. I mean, there's no catches anywhere. Yeah, like it feels as if it was it's one material that's just in different colors. And I mean that's something that GEC is really good at, is their fit and finish. I mean, you can look at the back spring and liners and cover, and there's no gaps, there's no daylight. I mean, and that's just amazing for a company that pretty much, I mean, their knives are pretty much handmade. I mean, it's not to the they're still a production company, but I mean, it's almost to the quality of a custom knife. So I mean, it's just very impressive. Let's take a look at the weight on this guy, which it's not heavy, but it is. I mean, it's got. I mean, you can tell you got a knife in your hand, and I like that. I mean, it's a tool. It's meant to be used. It's you don't want to be holding a feather, and so it comes in at 3 ounces. I mean, to me, if you're working with a modern folder, I mean, that would be considered a pocket chunker. Whenever I would carry modern folders, anything 5 ounces or less was nothing. I mean, that was the perfect weight. Let's look at grams for our friends from across the pond, and we're looking at 84 grams. That's just a great weight for a knife. And my slip joints, I have two different cases or sheaths or whatever that I carry them in. I carry them. I can't even remember. I think I got this as kind of a sorry for your knife being so late, but it's actually a case brand sheath. And then I have a horizontal sheath that my good friend Gonzo, or Marshall is his real name. I actually gave him a little shout out in one of my previous videos, but he is his web or his Facebook page is Converse Customs. He's a knife maker, a really great guy. But if I'm not carrying the horizontal sheath that he gave me, I'm carrying this vertical one. And you can't even tell you got anything on your belt. It's like it's not even there. But let's do some measurements here. This is a decent sized knife, but it's not huge. It's, I think it's like the perfect size. Your closed length is, right at exactly 3.5 inches, which is, a good size that fits in the pocket well, fits in a sheath well. It's just a really, really good size knife. Your primary blade, let's hope I don't get a case of the dropsies here. You're looking at 2.5 inches on the cutting edge. You're looking at 2 7/8 total length. Overall length open, you're looking at 6.25 inches. And the secondary, this pin blade, and I find this absolutely amazing. You've got 2 inches of cutting edge on a pin blade. That's you can do a lot of work with that. That is just really cool. And you're looking at about 2 3/8 total length on the secondary blade, and right at 5 7/8 total length open. And another really cool thing that I want to mention, if you're not familiar with Great Eastern Cutlery, usually on the Titty-Ute trim, when they first put out a new pattern, they will put this PPP marking on one of the blades, which stands for Pattern Production Premiere, which pretty much means this is the premiere of this pattern being in production. So yeah, that I think that about covers it on this guy. This is a great. I cannot stress enough how great this knife is. It's not gonna break the bank. It's gonna function very well. It's just gorgeous to look at, and the shape is unique. You pull it out, people are gonna say like, wow, that's a really cool looking knife. Where'd you get that? What kind of knife is it? I just, if you get a chance to buy one of these guys, you will not be disappointed. So definitely gets, well, like with my thumbs, 1 3/4 thumbs up. So that's it, guys. Really appreciate you watching. Hope you guys are having a great morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is when you're watching this video. And this is Grateful Panics signing off. And remember, stay alert, stay alive.